Hello, my more brothers, back again. This is going to be an interesting one. I haven't done a StephCo in quite a while. Even though she's a gift that keeps on giving, I really didn't want to make a whole bunch of videos on her. I really don't like making a series of videos about a particular person. Because they get kind of annoyed, and that goes into bullying and that kind of stuff. Even though the bigger content creators like Kevin, like Roller Tomasi, Donovan, all those kind of people, that comes with the territory. So there's too many people shooting at them for one little person like me to make a difference, right? But StephCo, even when she started, even though it was interesting, she said a lot of pertinent stuff that's applicable to what we talk about. I didn't really want to make a whole big long playlist on StephCo, but she said something rich that I wanted to actually chime in on. She has this thing against high value men, especially the way Kevin Samuels actually presents it. But a lot of people do. And she put on her prediction hat, and she predicted that this is the end of the high value men era, even though it hasn't been around that long. But she's predicting that it's going to ebb and it's going to go away for a particular reason. So I thought this would be a good reaction video to actually do. So I'm going to bring StephCo up, and we're going to talk about the era of the high value men and why she thinks it's ended. Without further ado, StephCo.
I'm psyched, you guys. Hello and welcome to my channel, and today I bring tidings of great joy.
Her weave's gotten better.
That the internet has spoken. We have officially reached the end of the era of the high value.
Officially.
Now, to understand why this makes me so happy, you have to know who and what that is. And in case you have been living under a rock, and today is the very first day that you have ever logged on to the internet, I'm going to fill you in. But before I talk specifically about the high value man, I gotta take you back
boys and girls,
further to the age-old tradition of the pickup artist.
Pickup artists, who also self-identify as dating coaches, the seduction community.
Oh, she's learning the red pill. Bravo, StephCo.
Men whose goal is seduction and sexual success with women.
Bravo.
The rise of seduction science, game, or studied charisma has been attributed to modern forms of dating.
Wikipedia.
And social norms
Bravo,
between
StephCo.
sexes, which had developed from a perceived increase in the equality of women in Western society and changes to traditional gender roles. Commentators in the media have described game as sexist or misogynistic. Modern pickup artist practice dates at least to 1970, with the publication of How to Pick Up Girls by Eric Weber. However, one self-described picker-upper of women preceding Weber was rational emotive psychotherapist Albert Ellis, who wrote The Art of Erotic Seduction, a how-to guide for men that encouraged them to meet women through the pickup, with Roger Conway in 1967. In 1991, Ross Jeffries taught workshops, promoted a collection of neurolinguistic programming techniques called Speed Seduction, and published a short book of his techniques, How to Get the Women You Desire into Bed.
I remember that one.
The pickup community has special terminology, which allows to distinguish the initiated. Pickup terms are borrowed from the everyday English vocabulary or from special areas like business terminology, thus are quite transparent for novices. Pickup terminology is mostly based on the following kinds of terminology.
She's doing a little kid's guide to the red pill. Okay. She doesn't talk about the black side of pickups. Pickup artists started with the pimps in the pimp books. That's where pickup artists really started. That's where game, the name game actually came from. It didn't come from the seduction community. Anyway.
Military terminology, For example, a woman one seduces is called a target. Sports terminology, for example, a process of seduction is called a game. Business terminology, for example, there are seduction strategies of raising own value and lowering her value. Many pickup artists work on their game by improving their understanding of psychology. Their confidence and self-esteem are termed inner game, and their social skills and physical appearance, physical fitness, fashion sense, grooming, are the outer game. Many members of the community believe that one's game is refined through regular practice, with the idea that the
Red pill for goofy chicks.
interact in this
That's
way
what we're
with
going
women
through right now.
improved. Pickup artists received mixed to negative responses from the press and general public, with many
'cause it
regarding
worked.
both the practice and theory as immoral, sexist, and ineffective.
The women did, yeah,
So
actually.
you see, men building a media platform and building content and galvanizing each other and coming together in groups in order to make their main purpose manipulating and bringing in women that for some reason they feel are in control of them and at the same time beneath them is nothing new. The term high value man, though, was popularized by a content creator, and I dare not say his name because I am afraid that if I do, he will drop
He
in
won't
from
do
my
it. Stop.
seat and remind me that I am an over 30 unmarried woman.
Yes,
well, I'm not
and a
worthy
4.
of anyone's love. But I
And a
will put
4.
his name here on the screen. And he started making content in the year 2016 here on YouTube and very, very quickly amassed
But is he accurate though? StephCo, is he accurate? And the thing reminding her, she knows that he wouldn't even say that she's beneath him. He would never say that to her. He wouldn't date her, but he wouldn't say that to her. Anyhow.
very big following. Why? Because men who have been hurt in the dating arena, they have been rejected by a woman that they felt that they should be able to have simply because, well, they wanted her. They very easily found it exciting to rally around a common cause, and this man was the Pied Piper of that cause.
Actually, no, it really wasn't. Actually, because Kevin, I know personally, and Kevin, we talked about this just before he got big. Okay, this is the StephCo. I'm going to educate you because this is kind of inside baseball stuff. Stop. You can't go on Wikipedia and find this stuff because this is part of our community. Me and Kevin talked about it. Okay, really what made it big is not the men, because Kevin had been in this YouTube for 10 years. And Kevin had been inside the manosphere for a good 5 years before he blew up. What actually caused his meteoric rise, as we would put it, is not men, it's actually women. And everybody inside said the exact same thing. It's the women. And what caused the women actually to blow Kevin up, especially with high value men, it's called the COVID economy. The COVID economy started having women losing jobs, which is what we call the she session. And without the public schools being able to babysit their children, they had to be at home. Okay, now you need a man. If you need a man where you didn't need a man before, or you're going to start at the bottom, you're going to start at the top. You're going to start at the top. Kevin had a cache of men who he calls the mix, which what he calls high value men that made $100,000 and over, had good jobs, good white collar to corporate jobs, and all of a sudden these people in the mix became in demand. And so who's going to come looking for these guys? It's going to be women. Women actually blew Kevin up. It wasn't the men. So saying that he's the Pied Piper of the men, no, he was not. Actually, he's a Pied Piper of women that want high-value men, or guys in the top 6% of black men. That's where it came from. But continuing.
And the cause was uplift men while at the same time putting women in their place. And it
Actually not. It's actually pairing men and women of equal value together. And actually informing women how to get said guys. But go ahead. But if you're not in that class and these guys are not available to you, guess what you're going to have? You're going to have the average at best argument.
It seemed like you couldn't go anywhere, really, without hearing content from this particular creator or any of his many minions. After he started creating this content and his point of view
Why is it when somebody like you, StephCo, has a lot of followers and they repeat what you say. They're subs and followers instead of minions. It sounds like something out of Despicable Me. And these little green things they call minions, or blue things they call minions, run around with the little goggles on, messing with everybody. Anyhow, continuing.
Started getting spread around and more widely accepted. People who wanted to continue to spread his message started sprouting up like some kind of mythological hydra. The moment you would block one account that was spouting off this mess, another one would pop back up, especially when TikTok became popular. There are so many accounts like the ones on the screen right now where men spend their time telling other men three main things. You are the very best thing that has ever happened to this earth. Women are not worth your time, and if you give them your time, they better be grateful. And finally, and what I feel is the most important focus of their entire movement.
You're just finding out about it. A lot of these guys have been around even before Kevin started doing this kind of content. She's just finding out about it. And her being a feminist, she's offended. She just got into this realm. But the thing is, you crossed over into this. You started talking about this. You could have left it alone. But you thought that the only kind of guy that was really out there was Derek Jackson. Okay, the one, the ugly girl whisperer. Okay, and you find out that the black manosphere, or the manosphere, was a lot bigger than you thought. And pickup is just only one part of it. But anyhow, continuing.
And what I feel is the most important focus of their entire movement. Here's how you get the women that you want.
Yes, it's called a dating coach.
And making sure they know.
Oh, yes. Same.
Why do I think that we are at the end of this
Women
era?
do the same thing.
First of all, I'd like to explain why the era absolutely has to end, if for some reason it's not already understood. My first issue with these men is, of course, the misogyny. Even though the title high value men and any
misogyny, the intersectional feminist trope. Okay.
Type of content that is mildly related to it, so being an alpha male, etc. I'm sure they have other ones out there. Even though it seems on the surface like it is something that is to be used to lift men's spirits and raise their self-esteem so that they can go out and live better and more productive lives, what really happens once you dive into it is just this wave and this deep pestilent current of misogyny, specifically when you get into the type of content that is put forth and practiced by the Black community. There you have a ton of misogynoir. And I think what happens here is you have a lot of men who are suffering from inferiority complexes caused by, just being in the skin that has been systematically oppressed the most in American history. You have men who are coming from a lot of broken homes, and they've seen.
Who broke the homes? Who broke the homes? You're not going to get into that, but who broke the homes?
Women be treated certain ways and respond to that treatment. And instead of becoming empathetic and wanting to reach out.
They're not talking about how women treat men, but they never talk about that. She won't talk about that. She won't even talk about how she treats men.
And help and dive back into their communities. What they've done is they've said, okay, well, I'm going to become the opposite of the figure that that woman that raised me probably needed. And instead I'm going to become a bit of a bully because I don't want to be around that. And I'd rather be around women that never had to deal with anything like that. And if she was hurt in those ways, well, there's probably something wrong with her anyway. She is of low value. And even worse, I think that what happens in these communities is that you have women who are desperate to be partnered. So Black women, because it is statistically proven that we are 62% less likely to be partnered than any other race of women.
Yeah, on purpose. On purpose. Why are you 62% less likely to be partnered? You want to answer that question, will you?
The United States of America, they say, maybe we should listen to these men. What do they want after all? What do they need from us? And so what this content ends up doing is it ends up exploiting the very real vulnerability of women who are looking for partnership. The next thing I don't like is that they are obsessed with this idea of being the prize. A lot of these high value man accounts will ramble on and on and on about how women are not the prize, men are the prize, and women need to bring something to the table. There's always this mystical table. They talk about this table. There's this metaphorical table. It's like Disney World to them, this table.
Women actually started, that's actually a term that women started. But you should know that. You've been around it. Women talk about what do you bring to the table, the mythical table. Men didn't start that. Either you're a novice, you're ignorant of these facts or this history, or you're being disingenuous. I'm assuming that you're disingenuous. I'm assuming that you're smarter than this. But women have been talking about what do you bring to the table for eons, but especially black women. When I was dating, this is like 40 years ago, it was black women that would approach you and ask, what do you bring to the table? In other words, what do you have to offer me? So it wasn't black men that actually started the table conversation. It was actually the black women. Black men, all black men did was actually reverse it.
I'm not even sure they all even understand what it means, or that they're all talking about the same table, but they won't let it go. Like I was saying, they are obsessed with this idea.
She doesn't understand what the table is. Okay, StephCo? Come on. You're talking about terms that you don't even understand. And you're putting a video out and you're saying, but you're predicting the end of the high value man era when you don't even understand the basics. You're ignorant of the basics. Anyhow, continue.
Of being the prize. I mean, who can forget this guy who was screaming and yelling all over TikTok last year? And if you didn't see it, it was a viral clip. I will not link it below because he has been blocked. But suffice it to say, you can look at his username and go watch it yourself. He is screaming in that video, why do women think they're the prize and they deserve special treatment? They're not the prize. You're not. So let me share.
Why are you showing this white guy that has nothing to do with the black manosphere or Kevin? Anyhow. The high value man is for black men and a small segment of black men. You don't even know who they are. You don't even understand it, even though you've been doing this content for like a year and a half. Haven't even done your homework. Why don't you go on Kevin's show and talk to these people? Talk to Kevin directly. He has a platform. He does at least 3 or 4 shows a night. Why don't you show up?
My viewpoint really quickly, and I might lose some of you on this, but that's okay. I actually have a problem with that label, whether it applies to men or women. I know that we as women, we have been taught, remember women, you're the prize, you're the prize. And I don't feel that that is the flex that we think it is, because I think when we label ourselves as the prize, what we're doing are 3 things. The first thing that we're doing is we're submitting to the objectification of our bodies for pleasure. The second thing that we're doing.
With your weave and in your dress, and you want an attention is not subjecting yourself to objectification. The pretty privilege that you desire so much is not objectification. Come on, StephCo. Anyway.
As we're ascribing to antiquated gender norms and expectations within heteronormative relationships.
Come on, English, heteronormative relationships that you still want. I don't see you out there chasing lesbians. Or chasing transgender dudes or transgender women. Heteronormative, that's how babies get made. If you don't have heteronormative relationships, you have no babies. It's called biology. Heteronormative. It's called biology.
And the last thing that we're doing is we're allowing ourselves to be defined by our ability to serve our purpose in a pronatalist society, which means
pronatalist society. If you don't have a pronatalist society, guess what happens? You disappear. It's called demographics. Look it up.
We are automatically judged based on whether or not we have become or have not become mothers. So let me talk.
Yes. You know what happens to a nation that doesn't have mothers or children? What are they going to start doing? Spitting out little biobots? Yes. It's called citizens. Who do you think is going to take care of you when you get old? What's going to happen to the nation if there's no children? So you think a nation of old people are actually going to defend this country, geriatric people? Come on.
Talk about my first point. When a man says, oh, well, the woman is the prize, and we talk about things that a woman is normally prided for, the first thing I think about is beauty. Now,
Yes.
Somebody who has often been kept away from those very special circles where women are being objectified and lifted up.
Yes.
I know what it's like to not be praised, to not be thought of
Exactly. And you're pissed. That's why you have this whole channel.
as valuable in that way.
Yes.
So for me, that label already is extremely binding and restricting because,
Yes.
well, I don't fit. Secondly, when we talk about
How do you judge your men? Do you actually go chase ugly men? Now, this chick comes up here talking about how handsome the guy is that she likes and how hot a guy is and how she's attracted to certain hot guys. And though I haven't seen one guy that she said was her type that was ugly. Standards for me, but not for thee. Anyhow, continuing.
Gender norms and expectations, a woman being the prize. I think about the fact that, it is still expected and it is seen that women do the majority of the domestic work within a household. They are still expected in a lot of places to take care of the kids, to clean and wash all of the clothes, to cook all of the meals.
Yeah, guess what? It's called a washing machine, okay? And guess what happens when guys actually do that? Because you have what they call supportive males. And guess who don't like supportive males? Drum roll, wait for it. Women.
A lot of times I think when women say, okay, remember, I'm the prize, it comes with that label as well. And finally, when we talk about pronatalism, I don't know if we're ever going to escape the extreme weight that women have placed upon them.
Extreme weight, okay? It's called the propagation of the species. Propagation of the species. Every female has that responsibility by being female. Propagation of the species. Western women are the only people that complain about it. If you want your species to disappear, don't have kids. Women don't have to have kids. You can go get your uterus is blocked, okay? You don't have to have kids. What happens when you don't have kids, StephCo?
In order to be able to produce families. There was one High Value Man podcast that was out, and it was going around TikTok and YouTube a few weeks ago. And a guy was saying, it's great that women can give birth, and they all should. But when she gives birth, she loses value. She starts to get stretch marks. She becomes bonded to the man she had the child with. The things that attracted men to her start to go south.
She should be bonded to the father of the child. That's called a family. That's called family formation, that we've been talking about it forever. That's called a two-parent household. The reason you have kids together with one man bonded to a man is to raise proper children. You don't want single-parent households. You don't want women wandering from man to man to man to man to man, having babies by 3, 4, 5 guys. It screws up the family, screws up the lineage. Come on, StephCo.
And she loses her value in the marketplace. So that's why women like monogamy more, and they're more likely to be monogamous because, they don't really have a choice. We're both judged for not doing that and for being too old to do it, and we're also judged when we do it. And
a man's not gonna pay for a woman that's used, okay? Now, if a woman's got money, and a woman wants to buy a man, a woman wants to take care of her household, a man will take her. There's men that will actually take her with kids because he's not paying for them. It's problematic. Okay.
So when I think about that label, the prize, and I put myself within that framework, do I still count? Do I still matter? If I'm not able to produce a starting lineup, am I still someone's?
To somebody, okay? Feminist Speak 101. This is why your whole society's all screwed up. Basically, it's the end of feminism, and pretty much because shit doesn't work. That's what she should call it. End of feminism. Because it doesn't work.
Prize.
Anyhow.
And let's talk about what men mean when they say, men, don't forget, we're the prize, we're the prize. How? We want to talk about the things that men are normally prized for. Do you have wealth? Are you able to build this wonderful castle that you would like her to do this domestic engineering in? Do you have the genetic material so that she might produce this starting lineup? Do you have a kingdom and a social network where she can ride next to you in a car and be paraded around and shown off for her great beauty?
And women do choose men on that basis. That's called high value. You just described high value men, right? In a sense. Just described them. And this is what women want. Go back and look.
Well, if you don't have that, then you're not really a prize either. When I think of the word and the term prize, the only way I ever want it used, and the only way I ever want it used in reference to me, is when the person who is meant to accept what I have to give and who values it above all else finds me and gives me that name. Otherwise, I am a human being experiencing life in a human body. And so
but she still wants to be the prize. She just said it. She just said it. She just said it. And the more men that want to value her as that prize, the better she's going to feel about herself, which is why she has this whole channel, because enough guys don't.
When I see men arguing about this name, I think, well, you dummies invented the name. It never really meant anything real anyway. Grow up. Finally, I don't like the fact that they won't admit that everything that they're doing, all the work that they take and all the efforts that they take to lift themselves up and bring down women in the meantime, it's because their feelings are hurt. Someone has told them that they weren't good enough.
Yeah, guess who? and their feelings are hurt. And your feelings were hurt. That's how come you have this whole channel. And women rally behind what you say because their feelings were hurt. But somehow men are not supposed to have feelings, and their feelings aren't supposed to be hurt. And that's not supposed to do something to rectify that. Women do the exact same thing. Your feelings are hurt. You have a whole channel talk about how your feelings were hurt. On a date, how you rejected. Okay? But men can't do it? Come on, StephCo.
Someone has said, hey, you're not the one. And now when it comes to the black men that ascribe to this way of thinking, I understand. It's not just someone. It's not just one person. There are messages that are being received.
The high value men make over $100,000 a year. Most are professionals. A lot of these guys have children already. Some of these guys have already been married. Okay? Some of these guys have had multiple relationships. You know, in fact, a lot of the guys that I know, check out Dennis Sperling, $1 Million Lawyer. Check out Shannon Rawls. He was married 3 times. Okay, he's been a producer. He's been a businessman. He's worth millions of dollars. Has his own production company. Okay, these are high value men. I know high value men that I call global elite, that graduated from Yale, Harvard, Princeton, Wharton Business School, okay, have been married, have been engaged, got women, got multiple millions of dollars, okay? You're trying to put them in this little bucket like they're supposed to be educated incels. You don't understand. But go ahead, continuing.
Subconsciously all the time from the time you are a little child. And some people don't just turn that rejection and that hate that comes from that
that she's projecting
towards women only. They turn it towards all of society. But just because I get it, it doesn't make it right. When I first started coming out with my content on YouTube, some of these men would find their way into my comment sections and they would say things like, well, this is exactly what we be talking about. She's the kind of woman. What? I'm not objectified. You don't freely hand me your money. Y'all are doing the rejecting of me. Y'all are rejecting me. Like, what are we talking about? I don't fit into.
See, there it is. There it is. There it is. But you don't understand what they're saying to you because it doesn't fit into your worldview. Anyhow.
Your little framework. And yet I'm not walking around with a chip on my shoulder. And yet I'm not screaming.
Oh, bullshit. Come on, StephCo. Bullshit.
About being a high value woman, about how you were never worth. I'm just healing and hoping for the best. Now here's how I know we have reached the end of an era. For a long time, all you saw on the internet, in a podcast. Oh my God, these fools love to start a podcast and podcasts on Twitter. All you saw was people talking about this concept and them saying some really defamatory and infuriating things about women, especially about Black women. And people were just like, oh, well, that's up for, it's tough. That's tough. Well, I guess we have to just deal with it. Recently, I have seen great things. I have seen the men that this type of thinking is normally espoused by. I have seen them start to ask really, really critical questions of themselves and of their fellow brothers in arms who might lean to.
You're late. This has been happening for the last 15 years. You're late. This is a cycle. You're late. Continuing.
Toward thinking this way. I have seen women start to fight back with their own satirical takes on the things that these men say. And I'm gonna pause right here and play one of my very favorite TikTok trends. And what I'd like you to do after I play it is please go, if you have the app.
The thing is, you're looking at the wrong medium. This has been going on since the mid 2005 on Blog Talk. This has been happening since the 90s. This is not new. You're just late to it. So you think just because you just got there and you just heard a term called high value men, you're ascribing all these other people to the same thing, that this has just got started. It just started to get questioned. It just started to be opposed, and all this is new to you. But the thing is, you being on here just by saying this kind of stuff and bringing attention to it, that you found out about it, means that it's growing. You think it's the end? It's just getting started, sweetie.
Go and find her initial video and see if you can see all the stitches. Every one of them is better than the next, but this was absolutely my favorite one.
You know what women don't be doing?
Exactly, my brother. And just to piggyback off of what you were saying, my mom had 4 kids and 17 different jobs. So while my daddy was out smoking Henny and drinking crack and putting all of our money into hookers, my mother was at home with her kids or slaving away at her job. And what I don't understand is, where are the women like that? Nah, you speaking facts, bro. They don't exist no more. And this is what I be saying. Women are too emotional. I like to think critically and logically. And this is exactly why when they come over to chill, I gotta cover up the hole I punched in the wall when the Lakers lost, because they don't understand. Exactly, my fellow alpha males. How do you expect me to marry you when you can't even clean my ass correctly? The audacity for these females to think I'm gonna get home from a long day of cheating and being neglectful toward my responsibilities and family. You are not rushing to the door to take my shoes off and kiss my feet after you worked long and hard. These bitches be tripping, bro. You ever thought about going to therapy?
A couple years ago, that wasn't the case. A couple years ago, women...
Oh, you haven't looked. Oh, you haven't looked. There's a whole market on YouTube, especially, that ascribes to it. Divestors, Escape Blackistan. Hell, go look up Kristlyn Karazin. Okay, look up her old videos if she hasn't taken them down. You're late to the party.
We're just taking these messages in. We were just hearing this stuff, and we were just like, oh my God, how can people think that any of these arguments or any of these sayings have any merit? They never did. But I'm starting to see the pushback now, and I'm so excited. Finally, I am starting to see the targets that these men fixate most of their hatred and their anger upon start to turn around, look at them in the face, and say, enough. I gotta talk right now about Brittany Renner. So if you don't know Brittany Renner, she is a sports model. She is a sports model? Well, she's like a fitness model. She, she's an internet personality. She's very busy. I first found out about her years ago when she was on Vine, and she...
You gotta be kidding. Come on, StephCo. Really? Really? Really, StephCo? Really?
Kind of worked her way up in the social media world and became very, very popular. She has personality for sure. She recently posted this, and I thought this was interesting because whenever I would watch her content, she said that, she was a Pisces, but I was like, girl, you've got fire in you. And I didn't know what it was, but she has a Sagittarius moon. Do with that what you will. But she's got a lot of energy, and she tells a lot of stories about the experiences that she's had dealing with these high value men that a lot of times don't have anything to offer character-wise. All they have to offer is money.
How do you know? Have you ever tried to get to the NBA and know what it takes and how much hard work it takes, how much perseverance it takes to actually get to that level? Have you ever been a high caliber athlete and how you maybe 1 in 100,000? And what you got to go through from the time that you're 5 or 6 to the time that you make it to the NBA or the NFL or the Major League Baseball, and how much character that you have to have to actually endure that kind of pressure. Okay, most people will actually crack under that pressure, and I've seen it. So saying that they don't have anything to offer other than money is not true. They're not. They didn't inherit that money. They had to work their way up. They had to come from some very dire circumstances. And for you actually paint a broad brush that all these guys had to offer was money? Come on. Anyhow, continue. We're going to play a little bit more of this, and I'm going to wrap this up because now I'm starting to get pissed.
And they very, very superficially evaluate all women. And she was able to go in and experience that. She's dated rappers, actors. She's had a lot of experiences.
She's a pass around. She's a borderline 304. But that's the kind of people that you so-called intersectional feminists actually look up to. Come on.
She wrote a book about it. But recently, she was involved with an athlete, a younger athlete, and they had a child together. And the relationship did not work out.
Nah, she tried to groom a guy because she's 100 octane and she was getting ready to age out. It's a game. Come on, sweetie.
And because of her position as a woman that these men both revere and fear, when she left that young man, nobody said, oh, well, maybe the relationship just didn't work
No, we know what it is. Come on.
out. Things happen. Nobody said, oh, I hope she's okay. She's a single mom with a little boy and she's, oh, wow, she relocated to be with this dude. Wow, that's gotta be tough. Everyone was like, our greatest fear, a beautiful woman that we put up on a pedestal for no other reason.
Good Lord. Come on, StephCo. Can you be this naive and dumb? Really? All right. Let's finish this
Than
up.
that she is beautiful. She's hurt one of us by not submitting to us, she's hurt, and she's taken advantage of him and all of his money. She had a baby with him just for child support. They villainized her. They drug her name through the mud. Last week, she goes on a show, and you guys have probably seen it. Those people who watch my channel probably know about this. And the show is called the Fresh and Fit Podcast. Now, I don't look at any.
She didn't go on the Fresh and Fit podcast. She didn't. She went on DJ Academic's podcast, and Fresh and Fit was there. And we actually talked about it. But anyway, finish up, and I'm actually going to go ahead and bring her down, and we're going to finish it up because this is, StephCo, this is bullshit. This is beneath you, baby. I thought you were better than this. I thought you were smarter than this. I really did. I gave you a lot of respect because I thought you actually researched and actually understood this stuff. And evidently you don't. Okay, you're an elementary school teacher, a middle school school teacher. You never dealt with guys on this level, nor could you. And now you're trying to understand stuff that you have no clue about what you're talking about. Okay? These are athletes. These are IG models that athletes toss around. She's got a long history of doing this. You wouldn't say this about Superhead, but like, okay, oh, she was hurt and she's a victim and poor thing. Bullshit. Anyway.
Their content because they do get stressed out very easily and they are stressful. But they make a lot of, defaming and disparaging remarks about women. They do a lot of this about Black women, and they invited her.
They don't do hardly any of this about Black women because their target is not Black men. Okay? They've talked very little about Black women. Most of their content is aimed toward white men and aimed toward white women and Latina women. IG models, basically 304s, just like Brittany Renner. But go ahead.
On because they talk a lot about girls like her. They teach men how to avoid girls like her.
Yes.
Remember, she's the problem,
she's a 304.
Right? She's the demon.
She's a 304.
And Brittany
yes.
came on and she said, I want to know what you guys mean by that. I want to know what you mean by girls like me. Explain.
Yes.
They could say nothing. And then
they couldn't say anything because GG Academics wouldn't let them say anything. Because they want other favors. Because this is a hustle. This is a game. But you don't understand that. Well, maybe you do because you're actually making this content. Anyhow.
And she said, well, how does it make you feel to constantly put women down and to try to put us in our place? How does that make you feel?
Okay, she's not really talking about the end of high value men. Let's skip forward and see what she says.
Explain. They could say nothing. It starts to happen when people start to realize that something's not quite right. The comedy sets in. And in all comedy, there's a bit of truth. And the truth here is that you can't build a platform on hate and expect it to go forever. It needs to stop. And the era is over.
Okay.
I'm so excited.
Okay. Basically, let me bring her down. Okay. No, I'll leave her up. Basically, what we're saying is, what Kevin is saying is he wants to bring his group of guys. And this is, if you go back and actually research what Kevin said initially, right? He had actually reformed a big group of guys, actually got them to feel better about themselves, earn more money, dress better, be more personable and attractive to women. And guess what? They had no wives. High value man, as Kevin talks about it, it's not about abusing women or using women. It's about attracting a wife that will fit their agenda, fit their profile, be a good fit for them so they can be more successful. That's what a high value man towards women is supposed to be. Now, all those women that you see lining up night after night, they're applying for the goddamn job. They don't see it as being oppressive. They don't see it as Kevin putting them down. They're trying to get Kevin to actually give them the cheat code to get one of these guys. They want a guy that makes $100,000 or over, because there's only 6% of black men that actually do that. They want a guy that's corporate. Okay, there's only 5% of guys that actually corporate and make six figures. Those are the kinds of guys that they want. Those kind of guys are rare. There's only 5% of black men that actually fit into that category, and we have like 95% of women that actually want those kind of guys, want guys in that category. And Kevin always says, why don't you settle for a guy that's blue collar? Why don't you settle for a regular guy that makes $30,000 a year? The average guy in America, the average black guy in America makes $42,000 a year. The median earnings, which is 50% of black men, only make $27,000 a year. That's a third of what a high value man makes. The average American only makes $50,000 a year. The median earnings for all Americans in the United States, no matter what color they are, is $35,000 a year. 50% Americans make $35,000 a year or less. Even for white people, high value man, for a white woman, high value man is the top 9% of all Americans. And for white people, okay, if you want that kind of guy, you want that kind of lifestyle, you got to qualify for him. And Kevin every night says how he defines high value men, especially on his show, is the kind of men that most of women want. And it starts with income and resources. Looks and all that, personality, all that stuff actually comes later. But Kevin also talks about being valuable, being of service, being part of a network, being hardworking and industrious. Those are all traits that women like. Being ambitious. Those are traits that women like. Having an agenda, having a program. Those are the kind of traits that women like. Those are personalities. Those are personal traits that make you successful, which is what women like. That's a high value man. Stop looking at just the small anchor point. All those other dating coaches don't use the same thing. Now there's people out there who will take a term that doesn't apply to them, will use it. So what? But if they go by the definition, which most guys won't because they don't qualify, they're trying to figure out a way to actually get into the club. That's why they're upset. That's why you see all these definitions. Go by the person that makes the definition and stop looking at other guys. Go by Kevin's definition. If you really want to get into it, why don't you just do a whole series of shows actually going through his content and understanding what he means. White women understand this innately. White and Latina women understand this more than black women. Black women are the only people that actually push against this because they don't qualify. And Kevin's being nice. They don't want to hear what I got to say about it. 99% of black women don't qualify for a high value guy. They don't. They don't. They're not cooperative, they're not submissive, and they don't fit into a high value man's agenda. That's the problem. There's not enough black women that actually fit into that category. And that's why they asked Kevin to actually go out and actually find them wives, find them mates. That's why Kevin is actually opening up the pool, just like you, StephCo. They kind of open up the palette because trust and believe there's way more Latinas and white women that actually accept these guys than black women, without question. In fact, what black men actually ask for, which is not much, a high-value black man does not ask for very much. And basically a lot of Latina and white women are saying, is that all you're asking for? Is that it? Oh, I can do that. I can do that rolling out of bed. That's no problem. But black women have a problem with it. Black women like you, StephCo, have a problem with it. You don't qualify, StephCo. That's the problem with you. You don't qualify for a high-value man. And that's what's happening with you. And you know that you don't, because you see your girlfriends that do have the kind of guy that you want. The kind of guy that Kevin's talking about is the guy that's unattainable to you. and you are almost 40 years old, never been married, no kids, and a 4, average at best, and you would have to basically win the lottery to get one of these guys, and you know it. That's the reason that you wish that this era would be over with. That's the problem. You wish that this era was over with so that you would have a better shot in the dating market. If there's no standards, you have a better shot. But unfortunately, these standards have been around for 100,000 years. They didn't just start yesterday. And sweetie, you don't qualify. That's why come you have a problem with this process. But anyway, I'm going to close this out. I just wanted to hear what she had to say about the end of the high value man era. It's not going anywhere. It's just getting started. And in fact, it's more than black men that are applying these ideas. And that's why it's spreading. That's why it's popular. And that's why people that are in the upper echelon are actually fighting back. Because now there's a standard. And women don't like standards, especially if they don't qualify. So, fight back if you must, because basically you're encountering the tar baby. All you're going to do is spread it. And no kind of ridicule, or as Kevin says, sign language, which is, I actually didn't coin the term, but actually coined the concept. No shaming, no guilting, no insults or needs to be right will actually stop this. It's like a forest fire. The only thing you can actually stop a forest fire is water or redress of grievances. It's not going to happen. I know women too well. It's not going to happen. So read them and weep and do the best you can in this environment. Because feminism is not going to stop this. Feminism actually caused this. So unless you're going to get rid of feminism, it's not going to stop. Anyhow, that's all I got for this one. This is BGS out. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.